Hi, I'm Laverne Biskey, and this is Traveling with a Diabetic Long Term 101. My daughter Ksenia is 17 and she's a type 1 diabetic, so she uses insulin, and she has been a diabetic for over 10 years now. Our family has traveled to 6 continents, and we have been outside of North America backpacking for over 35 weeks. So I'm just going to share with you some of the tips that we've used in our travels. Our longest trip was for 4 months, so we've picked up a few tips along the way. I'm going to start by telling you about the things that you will need to travel for a longer period of time. So let's say longer than a month. And the reason that I use longer than a month is because a month is generally the length of time that your insulin can travel unrefrigerated. So what we do is we start by calculating the amount of supplies that we think we'll need for the period of time that we're gone, and then we order twice as many supplies. We split them into 2 separate batches, and usually what we do, we find Ziploc bags work really well. So we'll split them into 2, and then we will put each bag into a separate place. So one bag might go with me and the other bag might go with my husband. Now, some other things that you will need. In addition to twice as many supplies, we take 2 extra meters. We also get a letter from our daughter's doctor stating that she is a diabetic, and so therefore she will have all these supplies with her. You should have glucagon with you, and we always take 2, because if you use 1 and you don't have a backup, then you could find yourself in a bit of a problem. And don't forget batteries for your meter, and some source of glucose for low blood sugar. So we often find ourselves on boats and buses and trains, and sometimes there isn't food readily available. So we need to have something like this so that if Ksenia's blood sugar gets low in the middle of the night, we've got something to give her. These rockets are pure glucose, so they're very much like glucose tablets. We find that 10-gram glucose tablets are a little too much glucose to give her. Her blood sugar tends to spike after that. So we take these. You can get them on sale after Halloween, and we buy large quantities at a time. In order to keep your insulin for more than a month, we use a little device that's called a MediFridge, and it looks like this. So it's got a magnetic piece that keeps it shut, so you have to kind of pry it open. And the insulin itself goes in here, and it'll take either vials, or Ksenia uses pen syringes, so we just fill that up and close it. And it does plug in, and once it's cool, it'll stay cool for about 12 hours unless you're in really hot conditions. Now, we're going on a trip for 6 weeks, so we're only using 1 of them, but if we were to go on a trip longer than that, we would take 2 of them, and again, we would put them in 2 separate places. So if one bag happens to get stolen or lost or misplaced, you still have a supply of insulin with you. In a lot of the places that we go, Africa, Southeast Asia, and South America, the kinds of insulin that Ksenia uses are not readily available. So we make sure that we have double what we need, because we know it's not going to be easy to find. As a backup, we also take something called a Frio bag. Now, it's just a little sort of canvas bag with this sleeve on the inside, and in the sleeve is a material that's similar to what you find in diapers. So you just get it wet, and then refrigeration happens because of the evaporation. So it doesn't keep your insulin as cool as the MediFridge does, but you know, if you happen to find yourself someplace where you don't have electricity and it's really, really hot and you don't want your insulin to cook, then this is a really good choice. So we have found ourselves on boats where, you know, they told us it was going to be a 6-hour ride and it turned into an 8 or 9 hour ride. So that's the kind of situation where the Frio bag is really helpful if it's very, very hot and you don't have access to electricity. So how do you pack all this stuff? Well, like I said, we like to use Ziploc bags for the main supplies, dividing everything into two, including the glucagon, including the rockets, including the batteries, and of course including the meters. As far as the MediFridge goes, one thing that we find is very important for Ksenia to have is a backpack that she uses as a carry-on, and this goes everywhere with her. So the MediFridge always goes in the same spot in the backpack, and it's the one thing that we always check to make sure we haven't left behind in a hotel. So what we try to do is always put the MediFridge onto a nightstand and plug it in so it's like really obvious that it's there and it doesn't get forgotten. Everything else, split into two, put it into 2 bags, and then you can just replenish this little backpack from your 2. And we do try to take a little bit from this bag, a little bit from that bag, so that we've always got something to use. So it's really not that hard, just takes a little bit of forethought. The one thing that can be a little bit of a challenge is adjusting for time zones. So the rule of thumb that we use is the day that you're traveling, you're on the home time zone. And as soon as you've had a sleep and you wake up the next morning, you are on the new time zone. But time zones and managing your insulin is one thing that you really should consult with your doctor about, especially if it's your first trip. And they will help you work out your regime so you're getting the right amount of insulin at the right time. So, not that hard, fellow travelers. Get out there, have fun. Don't let diabetes hold you back. And if you're interested in following up on our travels to 6 continents, our website is www.noordinaryjourney.com. Again, that's www.noordinaryjourney.com. I'm Laverne Bisky. Thanks for watching.